This is the Z4 M40i.
Rolling?
Yeah.
Lovely. Right, I'll try not to look at the camera too much because I am looking where we are going because it is still raining. So we thought we'd come out in a convertible because why not? We're British. And it's convertible with a... I don't know what this funny thing is in the middle, but if I press this third pedal that's appeared in the pedal box and wiggle this thing around, then it changes gears. So it's nice to have a manual car, isn't it? It's a very rare thing, a manual car these days. But it's quite expensive to get the manual pack, isn't it? It's how much to have a manual gearbox?
£5,325. But that does include red calipers and BMW high gloss shadow line with extended contents. Whatever that means, who knows?
Very good. I feel quite at home in here. Again, there's some actual physical buttons. There's things to press, and you can, if you want to go up and down on the temperature, there's physical buttons. You know, there's a big physical lever thing in the middle. BMW's iDrive, so that's quite handy to actually have a look at and spin around on the display so you can glance at it. But it's a nice tactile, you know, when you've gone left or right and looked at things and whatever else. So that's quite good. Sounds nice. As much as we can try out the handling and the steering and whatever else on a day like today, it's... Whoa! Very wet, and that was a very big puddle, so I'm not going to try out too much more of the steering feel of the dual carriageway. Particularly as we're coming off here anyway, to the middle wallop. Don't know if I happen to upper wallop or lower wallop. But we shall come off here, but I can't really even see the white lines on the road anymore. It's that wet, to be honest. Ooh. It's got an auto rev matching on the auto heel toe on the downshift. That's an almighty puddle. Oh my god. I won't push it through this corner.
Under normal circumstances, a long, sweeping right-hand bend in a manual rear-wheel drive 6-cylinder BMW would probably be a joy.
That would have been very good fun. However, that massive puddle just on the exit there, I think we would have come a cropper if we were pressing on through there. But no, apart from the... well, I'm not really going to test out the steering feedback or feel, so if I have to push it that hard, I think we will be off and there will be a rhythm just as we happen to come across that. But this feels very solid. It doesn't initially feel that convertible to me. It's very quiet in here. It's very solid. There's no scuttle shake. It's not wallowing about, is it? It's definitely a fabric roof up there, but it feels more like a tin top convertible to me. I think. What do you reckon?
Well, of course, from the passenger seat, it's not quite so easy to tell, but I will say this, and you can probably tell by the amount that the camera is moving around, this is much firmer
Jesus.
than the Emira. In terms of the way that this thing rides, it's also probably a lot more engaging because it's got a manual gearbox. But once again, well, look at it. Filthy conditions.
This car aquaplanes a lot. I don't know how wide the tyres are or if they're worn down, but this car aquaplanes a hell of a lot.
So it'd be nice to try and keep this in a straight line. Of course, what's also interesting... Otherwise, what can we say? Well, it's nice in here, as Jim's already mentioned. It doesn't really feel like a convertible. It does have the stretchy fabric top, but you wouldn't really know that you are inside something without a roof. It does feel that well composed, that quiet, and that well insulated, which is nice. The ride is a bit firmer, yes it is, but I guess you kind of expect that, and this is with a manual box, obviously has a much more driver focused sporting intent. Would you want to do all the miles in this car? Would you, say for example, reach for the keys to this instead of the Emira?
Depends on the weather. On a day like today, possibly not. Oh my god. This road is just deeply unpleasant in this car. Yeah, I think I'd like to try this on a warmer, sunnier day. It's quite hard to actually just relax and enjoy the car when concentrating more on keeping it on the road, to be fair. Even at 40 miles an hour, this thing seems to want to try and spin me off into a bush. Is that the car? Is that the weather? It wasn't like this in the Kia that we've just come through, was it? But
No, I mean, the Kia did weigh approximately 7,500 tonnes.
yeah, I think that does help with aquaplaning, doesn't it? The lighter the car, the more susceptible to aquaplaning, I dare say. Well, I'm just going out, so I'm in the passenger seat. How would I sum it up? I think I quite enjoyed driving that. I think I enjoyed the road conditions I'm driving it in, but it was quite a nice thing to drive. It's it doesn't like standing water. I like the manual gearbox. Pedal box, as with all BMWs, is massively offset to the right, isn't it?
It's outrageously offset to the point where it feels like I'm in the wrong place in the car. So my right leg
Oh my God.
is basically over the brake pedal. So you have to go right to the right to do that. My left leg is sat on the clutch rest, which is not uncomfortable actually. But I'm not complaining because it's a joy to have a modern car with a manual gearbox. And it does a lovely little blip on downshift when you're actually cracking on, which is nice. I'm being careful, I'm not going to lie here, because the moment we touch the water, the back end twitches around like crazy. This is the Z4 M40i, and it is a really nice thing to drive. I have to say, I don't notice the firmness at all in the ride from the driver's seat, so maybe that's telling. Notice it more as a passenger. Otherwise, cab's a really comfy place to be. The seat's supportive in the right places. There's lots of space for your arms. There's nice support where you want it to be, so you could use this for touring around if you wanted to. Although my thoughts are that the Emira, well, I think that was actually more comfortable, and I also think it would probably be a better car to drive around in all of the time. This, I think, that makes a great noise. I really would love to show you that, but I can't because it's raining a lot, and I think probably we shall both be killed. So let's not do that. I'd love to take the roof off as well, but I can't. Gearbox, though, I can tell you about it. That's pretty sweet. It has a rifle bolt type of action, so it's really snap, 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 snap. Almost feels a bit notchy, and I think that perhaps when it's done a few more miles than when it's done, which is, well, next to nothing, I think at that point it'll be a nicer car to drive, but it is comfy. And it's also a bit of a rare breed. I mean, what is there left now in terms of small roadsters? I mean, what is there left now in terms of small roadsters? Not a lot, really. There's the Boxster. There's the Cyberster, which we shall drive in a bit. That's electric. It's just coming from MG. There's not really a lot. Maybe a small Merc, SLK something perhaps, I don't know. So it is nice. I don't think you see so many of these type of cars around anymore, and I think if it's just you or a couple of you, well, it's quite nice to be able to enjoy it, isn't it, really? This is a great car that if you were... Oh, there's that little blip.
Does sound good, that, doesn't it?
It's right here, isn't it?
Yes.
If it's just the two of you,
Clear left.
I think you'll probably enjoy it.
What do you think to visibility? Visibility out of it. I didn't find it that great, being honest. I think the A-pillar's quite obstructive. It's another big puddle.
I would agree, and I think it's not helped by the fact that the tweeters are just in the corner here. And I suppose perhaps that's the place to put them because the mirror base is there, but I wonder whether maybe they would have been better served mounting the mirrors to the doors and then giving you that bit better view. I don't know whether I'm sat slightly higher than you are either, and I'm certainly further forward than you were, and perhaps that helps a bit. But yeah, I think because the pedal box for me is that far offset, I haven't got much of a choice but to be that much further over. And it does feel a bit weird, but I've got used to it, and I'm quite enjoying driving it despite the challenging conditions. What's also quite nice is there's a little button on the dash with a picture of the car. You can press that and you can turn off the driver assistant bits that constantly bong on you, which is, well, an absolute delight. So it's now like driving a car without all the bits and pieces that constantly make all the noise.
And it does seem like you would be able to configure exactly what you want turned on and turned off, and when you want them on, etc. Which is quite a nice thing, I think, being able to set up the safety features how you want, because some of them are handy, some of them maybe less so, some you want, some you don't. So being able to pick and choose, I quite like the idea of that, to be honest.
Right, well, we've stopped now, so we can actually talk about this without the fear of death. I suppose, really. It's great. It is great. I love the manual gearbox. I like the seating position. Don't like the pedal position. It's quite comfy.
I I noticed the pedal position at first, but after about 3 gear changes, didn't notice it. So, I'd change it if I could, but actually, am I that worried about it? No, I didn't really notice it. I think we said on the way back, just off camera, almost ignore the price, because the price, if you can afford it, great. If you can't, wait till they come down second-hand value or whatever. You know, for some people, 60 grand is a drop in the ocean. It's nothing at all. For other people, 60 grand is all the money they have in the world and then some. So we are definitely at the second end of that scale. So I would say it's 60 grand. It's a lot of money, but if you won it, would you keep it? I think that's the giveaway. So ignore the money. If you won it in a competition, I think you'd probably keep it, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I quite like this.
It is a really nice car to drive. And if I bought one, I certainly wouldn't be disappointed, because you would have made the conscious decision to buy this and not something like a Porsche Boxster, and presumably not the Cyberster. But so you would have bought this on purpose. It makes a great noise. It feels nice, and there's quite a few nice little touches in the car. The quality feels good, except for the stitching on the dash, which is really wonky.
Let me just flip you around. I'll show you this.
Yeah, look.
So lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And I don't know if you can quite pick this up on camera, but there's lots of just little funny little wobbly bits in it, particularly up around there. Just the gap in the stitching all of a sudden gets very inconsistent, and it's very noticeable from the passenger seat.
Yeah, and here, for example, there on the corners particularly, it's like that. And that's the bit that you see as you're driving along. But
so I'm not sure if that's because somebody's pressed it, poked around with it, and somebody fiddled with it to do that. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, if you just spent 60 grand on the car, I think you'd be a little bit upset with that. How do you change that? New dashboard?
Yeah, get it recovered, I guess. But otherwise, a nicely appointed thing, comfortable, nice to drive, even if the conditions are terrible. Although it does tram like hell of a lot. We can't decide whether that's because of the tyres on here being incredibly wide, or whether it's just
the weather, the aquaplaning, etc. Let's go and have a look at the tyres and see how wide they are. Because if the front tyres are 895 millimetres in width, that probably explains it, doesn't it?
And the other thing is, there's a lot of boom from those tyres, so we assume run flats, but they make a hell of a lot of noise. You get in the cabin, not because of the roof, but because of the tyres, which seems odd to me. There we go. Would I have one? I wouldn't be upset if I bought one.
No, I'd like nicer weather than today, but yeah, I'd have one.